the second and last session of today's QGIS Open Day. Thank you all for joining us. If you do have any questions, please feel free to write them into the live chat if you are in YouTube, and I will then read them out. And I have put the link for this Jitsi room into the live chat if you do wish to join us in the Jitsi meeting. Please remember to mute yourself when you join the meeting so that there is no background noise. And then if you do want to ask a question, come on mic. All right, brilliant stuff. So this session is going to be very exciting. We're having a bit of a showcase. It's a workflow for pre-processing with multiple geoprocessing tools. And to tell you all about that, I'm going to hand over to Adelcides, who's going to tell us all about it.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Amy, and all the organizers. This is my second time here. The last time was maybe 2 years ago. Yes, a long time. Maybe I can just jump to my presentation.
Brilliant stuff.
Okay, all set.
Brilliant. I can see perfectly.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Adelcides Varela, and I'm here to give you a brief presentation of something that I was working on in a couple of weeks and I found really interesting and wanted to share. I am a geographer and GIS analyst from Cape Verde, West Africa. Cape Verde is a small country, SIDS, small island development state. We have a population under 500,000 people. And as of now, the population of Cape Verdeans outside of the country is more than double than those that live in the country. I have a bachelor's degree in geography and land management from our national university. And I've been working as a GIS analyst for the last couple, I would say more than a decade. Just a second. Okay. Thank you. I forgot the camera. As I said, I have been working as a GIS analyst in multiple fields, as my training is in geography. So I've been working agriculture, environmental, social activism, disaster risk reduction, water and sanitation, and so on. In areas where GIS is needed, and there's not many people in my country that have the technical knowledge. As of now, I'm attending a master's degree in geographical information science in the IGON program, internet-based master's degree in geographical information science and Earth observation for natural resource management and environment modeling. It's quite a long name. It's a joint program between the Lund University from Sweden and University of Twente, the Netherlands, the famous ITC faculty for those who know. I am an open source advocate. Uh, I've been using open source software for JS since around 2015 and for other users as well. For example, this presentation was done with LibreOffice. Due to my efforts, I was invited to be a JS project voting member a couple of years ago, which is a great honor for me. From this tiny island and just online, I never even went to those countries. I mean, I went to Portugal once, but just for vacations. I collaborate with the managers from the official user groups of QGIS Portugal and QGIS Brazil. I also, with other colleagues, we run the QGIS Community official virtual group on Facebook, which was endorsed by the project itself, and it's an official channel. And it's my pleasure to announce that as of now, we are over 100,000 members worldwide, making the largest QGIS-related group. I invite you all to join.
Congratulations. That's brilliant.
Yes, it's a great team effort. Uh, there, maybe a month ago, because I'm always researching, I found this article from this platform, GIS University, entitled The Case for the GIS Analyst and focusing on geographical problems. Usually we have, according to the article and from my own experience and knowledge, there are two types of professionals. We have professionals with real-life special problems in the fields, in multiple fields like environment, social science, and health, business, etc. And notice why I said spatial problems, because when you use the word geographical problems, people tend to assume This is something that matters to geography or geographers. But no, anything that can be located on the surface of the planet is known as geographical, but spatial is at multiple levels. So this problem can be shared by people from multiple fields and not just those that work in GIS fields. And then we have, where I count myself, non-specialized GIS professionals, which who have concept and technical knowledge and focus on geospatial tools and workflows. But usually, or at least in the beginning, or depending of the training, like my case in geography, we're not specialized in particular fields. So our focus tends to be solely on the tools themselves. For example, I know what's a buffer, how to create a buffer. But a buffer is something that can be useful for example, in many fields, but people may use it differently. But if I don't know those fields, I don't know the real life needs, I only have this knowledge for myself and I will not improve myself as a technician. So this article it highlights it and identifies a profile. Nowadays and over the past decades, there are a lot of names associated with JS roles, but this is not just a fancy name. It's a name that showcases what is behind it. JS analyst. An analyst is a person who can process and analyze and represent data. So when we have professions that have geographical problems but have no knowledge, or I would say maybe not even interest in JS, when we have JS professionals who have the knowledge, conceptual knowledge, technical tools, master software, etc., but are not really connected or engaged to other fields, so they don't know real areas of application, there's this person or this figure of a JS analyst who has to work between both worlds. Usually, ideally, needs to have some sort of knowledge on the geographical problem fields and some knowledge in JS in order to combine those two, I would say, areas. And also be able to work with the experts. For example, in my work, I've been working here for almost 10 years. Uh, I would need to know the technical lingo, let me say, of those fields so I can properly communicate with them. But that's not always easy because they are focused on their areas. They don't have time or inclination to share their knowledge, which is normal. And myself, I would have to be researching, and without a guidance, that's something sometimes not worth it. It may seem on the surface, but no. If we improve ourselves, if we try to research other areas, the application, their needs, it's a much needed asset, and we will grow as professionals. In this article, you can find it at this platform. Is really is more has more details, and you can see it. On top of that, in my case, when your background comes from non-specialized fields, like myself in geography, in my particular country, both from a social and a technical point of view, geography is not well known. People don't know what the geographer do. They usually think, okay, you are a teacher, you teach, you work with maps, you know world capitals, stuff like that. So, in order for us to be real, to matter, to be really relevant, we need to understand the areas of applications, particular areas. Some people will go in one other field, other will go in a lot of fields, but we cannot just stick with what we learn on the basis because geography covers everything, but we're not expert in anything. And some, for example, I would say, for example, Google Earth. Google Earth was a tool that came along, and suddenly everyone knows or has access to geospatial data, but they don't understand the purpose, the techniques, or the conceptual knowledge. And people even say, "No, I use Google Earth. I do JS." So that's our role to, I would say, educate the public on this issue. What is JS? What's simply data visualization? So for a JS analyst, we have a lot to do. Now let me go to the another part. Biosphere Cabo Verde. Biosphere Cabo Verde is a environmental NGO from my home country. I collaborate with them once in a while in jazz issues, I would say. But as I said before, I'm not an expert in environmental or conservation, so my collaboration is not as much as I would like. They are renowned independent national NGO. They implement innovative conservation initiatives on many islands because Cape Verde is composed by 10 islands. They work at least in 3 or 4 islands. And they promote the defense of conservation, both on coastal and marine species, but also other issues. And they try to mobilize all the Cape Verdean population to protect the environment. In this case, they contact me, and they had a particular issue they want to my assistance. Okay. Basically, they had data that was captured from GPS associated with turtles. They needed to create trajectories, meaning they generate line geometry from pairs of latitude and longitude, which were stored in spreadsheets. And they also wanted to collect to associate the collected data in point geometry with quadrants, polygons they work with. And is really used in environmental management. Uh, all the data was important. They were particularly concerned with temporal data. I myself, I'm not really used to work with temporal data or trajectory data, so I need to do some research. Uh, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I did not find a way natively to do it on QGIS, so I had to go for plugins. Anita Grasser, I'm sure a lot of people know her. She's a special data scientist, and she's a member of PSC of QGIS project, and she's an expert in trajectory and time-based data analysis. She has a lot of great material, but I was looking more to something more simpler for the particular professional to use. Again, the tendency is to focus on the tool and not the people using it. So I try to think how is the person that has no knowledge or little knowledge in GS will deal with a tool that is really advanced. In this case, I found this plugin, plugin shape tools. It has a lot of tools, and the particular one that was useful for this use case was the XY2 line. So this was for the first part. For the second part, there's the native processing tool. It join attributes by location with the ability to summarize the data. At first, they used the tool count point in polygons, but I showed them that only adds the total amount of points. But if you need to work with information from the points, that's not an appropriate tool. So this is a better alternative. So after that, I will show after this presentation. I generated the lines, I generated the points. I tried to use processing tools, but there was an issue. And before I talk about that, let me do this introduction. Space and time relationship. As the title of this presentation is about GPS data. Because with GPS is the global positioning system, the tendency either for GS professional or non-GS professional is to focus more on the spatial part or the location part where something is located. However, that's not just all everything that GPS data can provide us. What is usually the phenomena at study? Can be something physical, can be, for example, a tree, can be something, an accident, something that happened, can be a temperature measurement, etc. And these usually can concern both the GS professional or the non-GS professional. But depending on the organization, it mostly concerns non-GS professionals. The where exactly the location or the place where this phenomena takes place. This usually is the realm, I would say, of the GS professional. And unfortunately, for non GS professionals, they assume that it stops at the where. As long as I have a coordinate, that's enough. But us from GS, we know that's not enough. We need to have information of the phenomena, and this is where we have the how. It's the attributes, the description, the characteristics, everything that can be detailed. For example, I work with colleagues, they basically don't only give me information of the coordinates and a simple test. And then all the attributes, they only analyze themselves. But they don't know that if you associate these attributes with the location, we can broaden the analysis we can make. At a more advanced level, we have the why. This concerns with the cause-effect relationships to understand the reason a phenomenon takes place in a place or at a particular attribute that happens and is related to other or not. Usually involves just statistical analysis, etc. And is not really available to all professionals. Usually, we need more specialized people with this knowledge. And usually the organization will not go that much to hire people with this advanced knowledge. So unfortunately, many times we stop at the what, where, and how. But as I said, there's a strong relationship between space and time. I don't know if you don't know the well-known scientist excuse me, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I was watching one of his videos a couple of days ago, and he said something that it's the type of thing you know, but you don't really think about it. If I were to appoint a meeting with you and say, let's meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock, your next question would be when, where? Or if I were to say, let's meet at the square, and then you will ask me when. This shows that space and time are not really distinguishable because there's a strong influence between the two. And this can be provided by the when, and when is represented by temporal data, date, data time, time. For example, some my colleagues, for example, have data of a particular moment, but then they struggle to record how the data evolves over time. And usually the information is separated in different spreadsheets. It's really hard to combine because usually people don't associate at first the space and time, the where and the when. Okay. I can give you this an example. After I did all the processing I spoke earlier, now it came to use the time because they wanted to know how long it took a turtle to travel a particular distance or a particular from two particular places. But when we use the data, when we convert the data in spreadsheet form in QGIS for a vector-based data set, in this case GeoPackage, all the information from time related is converted to string because in JS, or to my knowledge, vector-based datasets don't really have much support for the temporal data. In database such as PostgreSQL, that's common, but unfortunately, most people use vector-based datasets. The database is not that much spread, at least in my home country. And because this data is stored as string, we cannot do aggregation or quantification. So we cannot perform calculation in any tools. In this case, this joint attribute by location. And we cannot produce quantitative mapping because the simply is not recognized as is not really for the software is not a number or a value it can recognize to produce quantitative mapping. So this was a challenge okay, how to work with time attributes or temporal data. For this, something that I've been working for some times, I am by no way an expert, but I'm seeing more and more its importance. From my experience and knowledge in my own country, and I believe in most countries, GIS professionals are really GUI-oriented, graphical user interface, depending a lot of software or tools dialogues, filling parameters, input, outputs, and waiting for the result to come out. And most are not willing to learn programming, which is a more efficient way of processing data. I would say a middle ground would be SQL. SQL is a structured query language, is applied usually to relational database, but in our particular case, we're not working with a database, we're working with file-based, vector-based data set. But QGIS implemented many years ago the functionality virtual layers. Virtual layers will allow you to use structured query language on vector-based or even tabular data, such as we have at hand. SQL allow us to structure, create, manipulate, analyze, or present the data, both spatial and non-spatial data, using test-based commands. It's based on English, so we need to understand to know this language. But then, and by understanding syntax is not really difficult. I'm still learning. I have a lot of way to go, but I've seen so far the advantage, and mainly the increased efficiency in geospatial data management and GIS analysis. Why? Because usually when we go for GI, a software or a tool, we have to fill all the information. We have to process multiple outputs that can be used as inputs in another different tool. We fill our computer with data we don't need anymore. Sometimes we forget or don't know how to clean this data. Computer will be bogged down. So with SQL, there's a better approach to this. You can also we can update automatic have a automatic update of dynamic data. For example, I have a data source that the information comes regularly. I don't have to add it again to the software and do another analysis. It simply auto updates. I also can automate some process and tasks, but this is most for more advanced knowledge. As I mentioned about the data, basically you can generate virtual data to visualize the data, to identify some particular thing you need, to query the data, to filter the data, and only the data that you actually need to keep for some other things you can convert it to physical data. And the advantage of virtual layers, even a virtual layer can be used as input in another tool. You don't have to export it first, for example, to a GeoPackage shapefile, for example. You can simply use it in the processing toolbox or with plugins.
Mm.
And because it's a test based, you can reuse it and adapt it for your needs. If your data set change, if some parameters change, it's just text. You can copy it, store it somewhere, and then just open it and change something else. And you have backup. And it's important to learn because every time you improve your queries, you will be learning something else. While with GBasic, basically you always have to open a window or multiple windows, fill data, and do it again and do it again. So this with SQL, you have a better usage of resource, in particular time, but also sometimes mental sanity. Okay, this is an example. For example, using DB Manager in QGIS, I can connect to a particular data. This is in spreadsheet. Select, for example, only the fields I want, and import it back to the software to do more everything else I need. I can change the name. I can change the name of the field. For example, in this case, we have fields that start with lowercase and have spaces, and this usually give us trouble in some processing tools.
Mm.
But because data comes from non-JS professionals, they don't have this knowledge, and that's how they are using to work. Even us, most I'm sure that non-JS stuff that we have usually we work like this. So for example, for a particular tool, I would have to change the name of a field, but with scale, I change it on the fly. For example, start location can become start location with lowercase and an underscore. Or for example, in my particular case, the original spreadsheet has over 20 fields or columns. I only need 9 for a particular job I'm doing, or 3 or yes, over 2000 rows. I can filter and have less rows. I can join data. In JS, for example, usually to join data, you have to go for processing or select a particular layer and go to properties and add it. It's a lot of work if you think about it. And if you need to be efficient, you will see the trouble I'm saying. Because before this, I didn't really think it. You're just so used to work like this, it seems okay. But after you see, or you have sometimes you have a problem, you have a project, you have you don't have much time, or you have a lot of data to pre-process or to process, then you start to see how inefficient you are being going, I would say, the traditional way. So in this case, I will go to the to the practical parts. I have already uploaded some, added some of the data I will be working with. Am I going fast or should I?
Perfect. I can see and do well. I'm just taking some notes.
Okay, because I usually speak fast, but English not my mother tongue, so sometimes I have to take
No,
some time to say something.
all good.
Okay, here is the quadrant. It's just a template, it's not the actual data and the total GPS data. We can see it here. Okay, has a lot of fields. Uh, for many years, when I used to add some spreadsheet-based data to QGIS, I used a plugin spreadsheet layer because there was no capability to recognize the field type. But now QGIS can do it natively. So
Mhm.
everything that import, it can identify whether it's a string or real, etc. But as I said, as we convert this to vector data, we lose, at least for time, temporal data, or specifically time, we will lose this capability. Okay. So the first things first, there's the data, the processing tool. This plugin, a cool thing about it, because it adds its tools to the processing toolbox. So you don't have, you can't, you should, there's no need to be hunting down where's the plugin is, where the tools are, which happens with some plugins.
Adelcides, I have a
Yes,
question.
yes.
Why did you choose to use this plugin instead of the points to path that's native with QGIS?
Mhm. Because it is for this particular data, there a pair of coordinates starts and end, and
Okay.
that tool does. You need only a field to order the data
Hmm.
from A to B or point one to point two. But in this case, we are using two pairs of for each one. Start here, start latitude, start longitude, stop latitude, stop longitude. So you are
Mm.
using four fields instead of the one that you can use in that tool.
Okay. Okay,
So this
cool.
was the main issue because they had other data. For example, this data is about turtles. They had data on birds that only had two fields, and they had an idea, an ordering, so they used the tool. But for this was the particular challenge: how to
Mm,
use information spread in different fields, in more fields than the usual.
mm, mm,
Okay. As I said, for example, Anita Grassi has a lot of materials on this. You can either go for processing, expressions, or even geometry-based symbology. But I want something that was more, I would say, simpler.
mm.
There were sometimes in QGIS had some tools to generate flows or fluxes. But I don't know if that tool was discontinued. I don't know what happened. Okay, this is the tool. We have our input. This is the original reference, but I'm reprojecting into another one. Okay. A line can be a simple line. Start X field. We'll go for longitude here. Start Y. I make sure because usually people mix up these two. I even do it once from time to time. X is
Oh, we've
longitude,
all
Y.
done it. It doesn't matter how long you're in this game, you mix them up.
Yes, I did yesterday when I was preparing this, and everything was weird when the result came. Stop. This is ending X field. Stop longitude. Ending Y field. Stop latitude. Okay. Hope everything goes well. I will only generate the ending point of each trajectory, otherwise I would have duplicate data and it'd be harder to manage. Okay, let me see. Okay, this is the data. Some points because the data is recorded when the turtles reach the surface. So obviously it did not travel from here to here, but it's useful enough to understand the behavior of the turtles. And of course, the perhaps more data processing later. So at first point, I generated trajectory, which was one of the requirements, and a point with all the information. You can open here and see. This is the information that's in the spreadsheet. We can go for the data type and see here. Okay, because it's not really physical, it's just temporary fields. We keep the time, but after we convert it, we lose it. I'm exporting into geopackage. Okay. Uh, just for the sake, I will go for name, a simple name, locations. Okay, I'm not changing anything else. Just the name here to improve my. Okay. The same for the trajectories. Just a simple name. Okay, everything I will leave it default. Change the name here. Okay, I don't need this anymore. And of course, I have to delete them later. Let me save. So now, if we wanted to run this next tool, which is join summary. Okay, there's the joint features in locations. By compare with quadrant, the spatial relationship is intercept. But then when we come to the okay, by compare to joint features in now it's the opposite in quadrant from locations. When we go to choose the fields, there they are, but we cannot summarize them. We cannot sum or do any type of calculation. It generates, but it will be empty. We can just a test to check. For example, let's say trip duration. This is the main thing. Okay, I want to calculate the trip duration, the average. Let's say average mean. Okay, I will just do a demonstration. I will not save it. Okay. So when we open our join field, okay, when you work it, there's no information because simply it will ignore the field I chose because to it it's not a field with value, so it cannot be summarized. So back again to the research. I try to research again. I looked for native tools for plugins because I have no knowledge in programming. I couldn't find it. So I said, no, there must be a way to work with temporal data because I'm sure it's common in many fields. All this the research I did for maybe 2 or 3 days, I came up with one particular tool in SQL. So I will demonstrate now. In here, all the layers, the data set that are added to a project can be used for filter layers, as I said. Either they are the tabular data or non-spatial data or spatial data. Even database we can use, but if, for example, excuse me, if you're using PostGIS, you can use the SQL directly from there. Virtual layers, so basically it's for everything that's not on a database. Even some remote services you can use virtual layers with. So I come here. I will just check here so I will not make a mistake. Let's say I will not be go into detail of how to use SQL. I will invite everyone listen to go to do some research. It's more to showcase its importance. For example, now I need to take this information, which is here in locations. You can see the table. I need to convert the information that is in string format, or better, I need to extract information that's in string format to obtain a time. How? For example, in this case, it states that this trajectory took 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 7 seconds. I need to know all the trajectories in one particular quadrant, how long it took, or an average, or a sum, it depends. But I cannot do it because this is simply a string. I cannot calculate. So how to do it? Go back here. For now, I will select everything, but usually with SQL, you have the ability to only select the fields that you need, as I said earlier. I don't need, imagine, this is only 20 fields, but let's imagine that I said add 100 fields or 200 fields, or had 1 million records. So it's too much. You don't need all that to process, and you crash your computer. But just for this exercise, I will select everything. So select is the main command. This means everything from what is the table, its locations. For people who have no experience or no knowledge in SQL, there is this option here it will assist you in creating a query. For example, everything I want to do there, I can do here. What table is it? Its table locations. What are the columns? All the columns, or what particular columns I want. Let's say all. For just basic, I'm not filtering the data anything. Okay. It will create itself. Let me do it again and save it. Come here, location. Okay. It will generate the query. So it's really helpful for beginners. And this is just a simple one. Let's imagine you want something advanced. You need to combine, select multiple fields or columns. You need to do an average or count or calculate minimum maximum. You have all these or some data. But you can use special functions. You can generate centroids, create a buffer. There's a lot of options. Can even you work with colors or labels. You can do mathematical operations. You can do some other more advanced, calculate all of these. I have no idea what these are. I mean, I know what they mean, but I don't know how to calculate them. You can also manipulate data. For example, if I have some data that's too long, I can trim it or replace it for a particular value. For example, some of the information was wrongly recorded. I don't have to go manually to the spreadsheet and edit it. I can simply use a function replace, insert what needs to be replaced for what is correct. So there's a lot of possibilities. I can even filter out here, for example, all the information in this column, and use this filter on the query. It's a lot of things. Okay. So back here, let's go with select. First, I'm saying I want to select all the fields or all the columns. Then I will use the function that I was talking about. The function is called string for time. You have to write exactly, because if you write anything wrong, then there's an error. S string for time. Okay, there you go. It's not mandatory, but the best practice when you use SQL is to use the operations or the functions with lower uppercase, and the name of the fields or the other things in lower cases. It is easier to understand later, or someone else to understand what was the point. So we'll go for. So what I'm doing this is here. It's like this. I will apply this. I will select at the same time all the fields. I will apply the function string for time. Then how to use it? It has a particular format. I want the hour, because the point was they want to know how long it takes. All the records are in minutes. Can be a few minutes or many, or can start a few minutes, 2 minutes. It can go up to I believe 23 hours was the most one. But it will depend how you want to see the data. If you want to calculate the value in hour, you use one method. If you want to use a minute, you use another one. I want to No, they need to calculate in minutes, because in minutes after that you can convert to hours. So in here, I will apply, this is the tool. Okay. uh, H, so you will select the hour part of the, you will understand, you will interpret the string and understand where is the hour, which field. The field is trip duration. As I said, for, as we all know, for many processing tools, we will have difficulties depending on the name of our datasets or the fields. In SQL, this is the worst thing that can happen. So the solution is, if this is the name of the field, I need to encase it. I need to put double commas. This is for the name of the field or the column, but for values is single commas. So I will go to the field trip duration. I will select the part that's hour. I will convert it to minutes. I will do it. We will multiply it by 60. So if I have 2 hours, that would be 120 minutes. But I still have the minute part. What I will do, I will sum these two. Another thing that the SQL lets you do, and you will not find in a GUI interface. I will sum this. I will do the same. I will add the same function here and modify it. Now instead of hour, this is the minute part. Okay, minute part, and it is, I don't need to sum because I will use minute as a reference. So it will sum. It will check for the hour, multiply it by 6 to get a minute, and then also you will check the minute and keep it. But this information needs to be saved somewhere. This is called alias when you generate another field or change the name on the fly. Let's call it, I will use my own language. Soma means sum, tempo, time in minutes. Okay. From, where is the source data, is the locations. And that's it. I could add some particular query. I only want to for a particular place or in a time interval or particular turtle. But for now, I will keep everything. Of course, you need to finish with it. So will you execute? My computer is not that fast, so but this is usually really fast. Just my computer is not that good.
So is this SQL query to get the time attribute correct?
The time attribute is in, for the layer is in string. I
Mm.
need to calculate. Okay, I need to know all the turtles that were in this quadrant, how long took them to travel, or the sum,
Mm.
or the average. But because it's string, I cannot do this calculation. Excuse
Could
me.
you not use the refactor fields tool in QGIS to do
And
this? I
and
don't know
then
how it works with
yes,
time though.
then you are not. First of all, you're not being efficient because you're generating more data,
Mm.
and this is what SQL it's for. Usually, when it takes this long, is because I made some mistake. Let me check again. So refactor fields on the surface, it seems like you are changing the data, but actually you're not. You are generating another one. You go to a layer, you run the refactor, but then you have to put a third layer.
Mm.
So you are multiplying your data. And for this, it's the same because the data you will export will be a vector based. And still you lose support for time because the field will never be time. In GeoPackage, in shapefile, there's no support for field based time, for time based fields.
Mm. Mm.
So that's the point. What do we need? We need this to be in time. We need time to be quantifiable. With string, we can't. So SQL is a tool for it. Perhaps if programming with program, probably there's another way, but I don't know programming. So let me check if I did some mistake here. Select all, string for time. This is It's correct. It's H. Okay, hour. The field is named trip duration. Okay, multiplied by 60. Then add again string for time, just to be visually. Okay, trip duration again. S summa. I think it should be okay. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there was some space. You have to be really careful.
Mm.
Sometimes an extra space or other character will mess up. And I said it's really fast. It didn't even take of a second. So we can go here. We can see where is the field we generated. It's summa tempo minimum in minutes. Where is it? Okay. Let me just load that and check it. Let's say query results. One, just for the sake, it uses geometry. I don't need to select anything else. Then load. This is the quadrant. Okay. The field. Okay, it's in the end. Another advantage, your original data has fields in a particular sequence. With SQL, you can change the sequence if you need. For example, this one is in the end. I would prefer it to be closer to the data. I could do that with SQL. And here it shows the time. Let's see the calculation. So these are zeros, means it did not amount to 1 minute. I chose to ignore this to simplify the query. And besides, the only difference would be added 1 minute. And for this work is not relevant. This one, you see, 1 minute. Here's the 1 minute. This one, let me go faster. For example, this is 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. But then let's go to those who are more time. Let's say I saw some 1 hour. Okay, for example, this 1 hour, 1 hour 2 minutes. The result will be 62 minutes. Okay, let's say let's check another one. This, for example, 12 hours and 57 minutes. That is 777 minutes. As I said before, we will use numbers because minutes will be easier for the calculation and interpretation, and we
Mm.
can always go back to hour to convert it back to hour. Okay. So now our layer is ready to be used and summarized in the join attribute by location. You can go now. Okay.
Did you choose there not to use the field calculator just because SQL's more efficient?
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
as I
Yep.
said, it will allow to pre-process the data. For example, let's
Yep.
say field calculator. I have a physical data here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to do calculate. I'm modifying my original data, which I don't want. When I come here, see, I don't find the tool for time for this time. Perhaps there are, but to my knowledge, I did not. I don't know if there's
Yeah,
another
I
one.
think
Let's
we would
try.
have to craft quite a clever expression
Yes,
to do it.
because yes, you have some fields. For example, I have a date. I want to extract the day of the week, or the year, or the month. That there are tools for that. But for time, in particular, you can convert. Okay, use the string. Okay, you can convert time here, for example. But you
Mm-hmm.
always need to be setting up other tools, and it's not it's slower compared to SQL.
SQL, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Yes,
cool. Sorry,
yes.
just
And another advantage, because here I only did one thing, but I could have done 30 things at once. I could say here, select those 5 fields, run this calculation, filter just aggregate data. I only want, for example, instead of all of these, I want to aggregate for five different totals. I can filter only from start in, for example, San Pedro, and only goes with, for example, another location. So everything you can figure out, you can imagine, you need, or you may need, you can use SQL at once.
mm, mm.
And this is the main advantage. For one or two things, maybe will not seem there as much efficient, but over time you will see. And the advantage, I can copy it, I can save it on the project. Now it's possible, but I can simply come here, copy the expression, okay, and save it. So all the analysis I can do, I can save a lot of. It will save me time tomorrow or next day if I have to do something similar, or I have to tweak to be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Other thing, I can run tools with multiple layers or data sets in one SQL query. We feel the calculator. I have to open one particular one and only do that one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because this is what I'm doing here. I'm using this tool for the sake of simplicity. The Let me close this. But this functionality can also be done with SQL. Instead of coming here, join attributes by location, I could have done in SQL as well. I have to select those two layers, define this space relationship, which is intersect, and aggregate the data as well. But because I'm working with someone who is not a JS professional, I'm trying to simplify the work.
Mm.
So this is the main power of SQL. You can do everything or a lot of things at once. So join to features in the quadrants. I only am using intersect. For example, here you have to go checklist, but in SQL you can write and be more flexible by comparing to query results. Let me see. Get
Just
back.
a note on time.
Yes, yes.
We are about 10 minutes till the predicted end of this session. I'm happy to go
Mhm,
over the time a little bit. We may get people moving in and out, but just so you
mhm.
know.
Yes, yes. Now I will speed up. I still have to go get lunch, and it's almost 2 o'clock here. So the field to summarize. In this case, I want to summarize this summer, this one I generated. And what calculation you need to do? I can go with minimum, the lowest time, the maximum time, the range or interval between times. The sum is not that useful, but maybe the mean. Let's use this. And all the this I'm doing, I could do at once in SQL. No need to be open many the dialogues and click in my way. I'm not joined later. Just can check it. Okay, now we open the layer. Okay, and this is the information. In this one there's zero, that means that there was not enough. So I better go with style graduated here. I go with sum. For example, there's the minimum, the maximum, the range, the sum, all the calculation. Let's go with minimum. In this case we are aggregating data, so let's go with min. Just something basic. Okay, these are the quadrants where there's no activity of total. They are all length, obviously. These we have a minimum, so we can maybe reduce our recording size to be smaller size. And now we are able to use the information, the temporal information for calculations and mapping, quantitative mapping. So you can see these are the areas where the totals on average take longer. Okay. And for the experts in totals, they will use this information to further analysis, which is it's outside of my expertise. Let
That's
me check.
really cool.
Let me check something. For example, in here you can see the total take longer. This information they gave me, the total take longer in these quadrants, but in this one, not so much. And if you can zoom in here, or you can go with. Let me do the what is the legend, not legend. Oh, passive slider. Okay, okay, okay. Where is it? The tool went away. I have to look at where is it. Okay, we ignore it. I'll just go with and here increase the transparency. Okay, and you can see, okay, why there's a lot of turtles, there's a lot of movement. really close, really integrate on this particular part, which is San Pedro. Why? They explained because this is a fishing village, and the fishermen and also the tourists that go there, because a lot of tourists that go to see the turtles, they feed the turtles. So because they feed the turtles don't need to go as much or as long to go get food in the ocean. So that's why there's a lot of concentration in this part. This is an information that they may have known, but they can only, I would say, support it with special analysis, because sometimes common knowledge is not necessarily the correct one. Okay, we can even do some check the different turtles. Okay, okay. There are three trajectories of three turtles. In this case, we have two that are in this part. Okay,
Purple turtle and yellow turtle.
yes. So you can see they still go around. They still travel to other parts of the island. This is one of the islands of Cape Verde. But the most part of the time they are in here, and the travel has to do in this particular case with feeding behavior. You can also you can put a label to show the time, the date, because there's a lot of information here. So there's a real lot of information they will be working with later. You have where it started, when it ended, the date, that's the date or the location. You can understand in the daytime or in the weekends. All this kind of analysis you can do in JS, and SQL is the best tool for that. Because if we know, for example, we can use processing, what is it? If you can do advanced processing with the, I forgot the name, the model process designer, you still will be relying on using GI. So with SQL is much more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have much of time. It is an ongoing. We haven't finished it yet. At this point, it's more on the pre-processing and the analysis. Later, when they have time, we will work on the analyzing data itself, and not just this time, but other information. It's a real complex. Okay.
So I just wanted to note there's a live comment from Burnt FM that this is really cool and great work. We need to have tracker GPS served from measurements of cell phones for missing people's cases for the police, but it's not yet in QGIS. So that would also be a really interesting use case for this kind of work.
Yes, because you,
Back to live.
yes, the same way we are, most of us use open source tools for the freedom, not just because of the price tag that usually what people say. SQL also gives you even more freedom. You don't will not be depending on one particular software or developer. And your analysis, you're not spent, okay, when is this tool going to be SQL or SQL, depending on your pronunciation, it's been around since the 70s. It's nothing new. It seems that we, or at least in my field, we at school level there was no knowledge of it. But if something is been done since the 70s, haven't changed much from then to here. That means you have something that can be used in the future for many decades, and not depend on particular project or entity or developer. Not developer is important. Without developers, we wouldn't have this. But for example, my work, if I need something else, simply can't pay. I can afford to pay a developer to implement some particular thing for my need. In this case, NGO even worse. So we have the tools, we can use them. Uh, but because we don't have much time, I will go for my concluding remarks. So all of this could be done with SQL, but I mixed the tools to ease in, I would say, the people using this for real. I was able to generate trajectory and location data set using plugins, join the data and summarize from point based to polygon based using native tools, and manipulate temporal data using SQL. And for the endpoint of endgame of using quantitative maps for experts and general public, because people will not be care much of the analysis, what tool were used, what how you did it. They will care to see the information in the end they can use, they can interpret it, they can use. Going back to the beginning for the geographical problem, we as JS professionals, we cannot focus solely on the tools for the sake of the tools. We need to understand that JS will only increase, or the usage will only be considered relevant if people understand it and it spread. For example, my home country, JS is since it's here since the 90s. But to this point, say someone, I am a JS analyst. They have no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm speaking about technicians, people with degrees, master's degree, PhD, in fields like social science, health, entomology, environmental, all areas where you can apply GS and simply have no idea of this under quotes tool. I would say more workflow. So to us as JS analysts or JS professionals, you want to really be analysts and to produce real results, not just okay, I can do buffer or I can go to the field to collect data, but have a difference, make an impact. We need to research. We need to research. We need to study to see new areas of applications, the evolution of tools. You cannot be focused on I have this tool. I will use what this tool is for. Focus on the need, the usage, not the tool. If one tool is not enough, use another one. I use over 20 tools for any particular things. When I was studying, I only use one tool. So, and this is evolution, and this evolution is better for everyone. You will improve as a career, more people use, and the tools themselves will improve as well. And more important, you will spread spatial thinking because spatial thinking is not associated or should be only associated with geographers. If any of those technicians have spatial thinking, because sometimes they ask something, it's 1% of what you can do, but they don't even know it's possible. No, I want this one is enough. But when you do something more advanced, they you blow their minds. So in overall, this is my standing. A geographical problem is something we have to tackle with JS to improve everyone's life. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Alcides. I really enjoyed this. This is fun. It's such a really tangible usage of GIS skills, and I really liked your use of SQL. I think or SQL, whichever you prefer. That is something all GIS people I think should know, or at least know how to work with. I wanted to ask, there are quite a few people in the room here and quite a few people in the live chat. Do you have any thoughts for Alcides on his approach, on his logic? Any pointers for the use of SQL, etc.? I'm opening it up to the room to put in your 2 cents. All right. Anyone have a note?
Helps if I unmute myself. Sorry.
Hi, Jeremy.
I keep doing this. I'm working on multiple screens and I keep forgetting which screen I need to unmute myself on. No, I like.
Are you unmuted or are you muted?
I am unmuted now. I can see I'm unmuted for once.
Perfect.
No, I just want to say I really like that the combination of SQL and QGIS because it's something that's so freely available and is very powerful to use, but like not many of us use it. Like I know, for instance, when I've been working on things, I'll lean towards like doing the model builder or something like graphic modeling just because I'm like, oh, cool, that's nice and pretty and easy. But actually using SQL is just as easy. And it's actually a slightly, I don't want to say more powerful, but it is like a really powerful integration that we just, for instance, I don't take advantage of enough. So I think that's a great way of using in this project. And I really liked it in the way it was done. Also, the explanation was great for like a lot of people if they don't have exposure to SQL like that way. At LCDs, you explained all of that is actually fantastic.
Jeremy, I was wondering, as LCDs was going through, and there were the couple of lines that popped over the island, would there be a way to use the boundary of the island as a no-go zone so that when you visualize it, you would see the turtles only moving in the sea?
Potentially, because I was looking at it, it is drawing direct paths directly between points. And also, if your point is on one side of the island and then on the other, you could do some kind of like rule to stop it, but the only issue you might encounter there is then you'll just end up with a floating point. It won't be connected via a line. But you could potentially use some form of like geometry generator almost to curve the line around the island.
I mean, it's really
Play around
useful
with. I don't
visualization.
know. I don't want to say yes or no, but it would be interesting to play around with.
Yes, as you said, as I said earlier, Anita Grassa, she has a lot of tools on that, and she has one particular map that's a flow map between countries, and she uses that because she wants to showcase people moving from one country to the other one, and she applies geometry generator to create a curved or oval lines, so it will a better visualization than just straight lines that will cross each other.
Mm, mm. All right. Maloko, Lisette, Jean, any notes from you?
None from my side. Just thank you for the presentation and your passion for GIS. When you ended there, said so many people, you ask them, you tell them you're a GIS analyst. And these are people who should actually be, very interested in getting the geospatial part of things. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
All right, great stuff. We are a little bit over time, so I will keep the questions short. There are no others coming in from the live other than Bernard saying that we will definitely be using this and a smiley face and thumbs up. So I would really love to ask everybody. Oh, my camera is off. Let me pop it back on. All right, so I'd love to ask everybody in the community who does watch this video, and you saw the last slide on LCD's presentation, if you have any ideas or any thoughts on how we can make the process more efficient, or any ideas that you think would really help with this idea and also using SQL in general, contact LCDs or reach out on one of the many QGIS chat rooms and supporting communities, because we are all on all of those. Are there any specific notes that you would like, Alcides?
I would like to say thank you to all the comments that were made, because this is really a passion for me. And another thing is the question. Sometimes the problem is we want to learn everything else, then start working. SQL, you have a problem. Take a problem, and then work your way out. Okay, what tool I can use? What is the best way to see this data, visualize this data? Talk to other people. Don't just talk to GS people. Talk to the users. How do you want to see this data? How can you interpret better? Because SQL is really rich. So if you wait until you learn all of it, you will never use it. Go using it, use it. Make mistakes. I did a lot of mistakes sometimes until I understand the logic of one particular sentence or syntax. So all in all, that's what I would like to say.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I think that is the perfect closing sentiment. Thank you all for joining us for this QGIS Open Day. There will, of course, be a festive Open Day towards the end of December. It may not be in the actual festive season because a lot of us are off on holiday, but I will be putting up the information on all of the usual platforms and the QGIS Wiki. So thank you all for joining us for today. Thank you, Adalcides, again for giving us a fantastic presentation. And goodbye to everybody until next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye. All right, we're no longer live. Thank you, everyone.